classes. So regular online classes till the offline classes will be opened. Then I started recording the classes. I will share the recorded videos in the YouTube or in my Google Drive. You can refresh, and I will give out these PPTs, and you can make use of them. So, what comes to your mind when you read this electrochemical energy conversion and storage? What comes to your mind when you see this title?
Battery storage.
Batteries, fuel cell.
Yeah. So batteries, fuel cells. Maybe someone else may tell that they may say smartphone or laptop, electric vehicles, UPS, camcorder, remote controller, consumer electronics, which all require batteries, at least batteries. Some may require more than other than batteries. In addition to batteries, maybe a condenser also. So this course, electrochemical energy conversion and storage, basically will deal with the batteries, supercapacitors, and fuel cells. All are known as electrochemical cells. Electrochemical cells. This is the course structure. We have 5 units. First unit is very fundamental. As you know, in all courses, the first unit is very important. If you miss first unit, you miss the essence of all other units. So it doesn't mean that you can miss other units. Okay. First unit is very important. You believe it or not, the content you learn in the first unit, I will be using them or using those terminologies even in the next semester. There is an advanced battery and a fuel cell course. Even that I will use. Fifth unit of next semester course, until then this first unit content will be used. This is how the courses have been designed. So unit 1 will deal with the introduction about electrochemical energy conversion and storage. Basically, we will learn about electrochemical cell and what is its associated electromotive force or potential or voltage. What is the difference between voltage and potential? How it is linked with the free energies? What is the thermodynamic connection between the voltage and the free energy change? What is the influence of reactant concentration on the cell voltage or electrode potential? What is the influence of temperature on the battery performances, fuel cell performances, supercapacitor performances? How the number of electron contributes towards the power density or the energy density of a battery or a fuel cell? Definitely there are numerous theoretical problems that you will encounter in first unit, in most of the units. Very nice numerical problems we will be learning. Thermodynamic calculations. You will be able to estimate delta G, delta H, delta S from electrochemical parameters. Then we will talk about electrochemical series. We will construct batteries. We will talk about electrode potential, cell voltage, what is Nernst equation, what is Gibbs equation, what is the connection between Gibbs equation and free energy potential, when and where Nernst equation to be used. There we will end. Then at the end of unit 1, very important parameters. At least more than 12 parameters are there when you want to develop any practical battery. What are they? You will be learning. Voltage, theoretical voltage, capacity, theoretical capacity, practical capacity, discharge capacity, what is energy, what is power, what is specific energy, what is energy density, specific power, specific energy, Coulombic efficiency, Coulombic charge acceptance, C rate, Eckert plot, Ragone plot, whatnot. All are very practical parameters you will have to consider when you want to develop any battery system. Very important. At least I will take 8 to 9 classes or a little more usually. At least 8 to 9 classes we will devote for unit 1. So we will have different types of batteries, primary batteries, secondary batteries. There is another battery type, reserve battery. Have you heard about reserve battery? Primary batteries, secondary batteries you would have heard. You will be able to give examples also. Have you heard about reserve battery? We will be learning at the end of unit 1. So then unit 2 will deal with the primary batteries. They are all throwaway batteries. We say in peer reviewing of manuscripts, throwaway commands. Like these batteries are throwaway batteries. Disposable batteries are non-rechargeable batteries. We will take a few case studies, maybe zinc carbon battery, primary alkaline batteries, zinc air batteries, lithium batteries. It's not lithium ion batteries, it is lithium battery. Then we will also talk about reserve batteries. In all cases, we will be talking about, or we will be learning about principle, components, construction, constructional features, merits, demerits, and their problems. Third unit will deal with the secondary batteries. So for simplicity, I will take this third unit at the end after fuel cells. We will concentrate on batteries, electrochemical cells, battery parameters in the first unit. We will deal with the primary batteries in the second unit. Then we will move to supercapacitors. It's a sister device, you will see. Sister devices to the batteries. We will learn about many things on supercapacitors, from physics to electrochemistry. We have numerical problems, several numerical problems. Then move to fuel cells, a very fascinating device. Energy converter, it doesn't store. Fuel cells do not store the energy, but it converts the chemical energy into electrical energy. As long as you feed the fuel and oxidant, fuel cells will generate electrical energy. Once you stop, it is like putting off your engine. It will stop functioning. It will stop producing electrical energy. We have different types of fuel cells. What is the origin for the generation of voltage in fuel cells? What are the fundamental reactions? ORR, MOR, HER, HOR, different types of fuel cells, PMFC, DMFC, DAFC, direct alcohol fuel cells, PAFC, phosphoric acid fuel cells, MC, molten carbonate fuel cells, and SOFC. After fuel cell unit, we will come back to secondary unit. So secondary batteries, sorry. So in the secondary batteries, we will talk about, or we will learn about principal, constructional features, components, merits and demerits of the good old Geston battery, that is lead acid battery, nickel cadmium battery, and nickel metal hydride and lithium ion batteries. There ends this paper 525. So I have, for all the units, I have PPT content. After each unit I complete, I will transmit to you. You can make use of them. And you can very much follow this book, Bockris and Reddy, Modern Electrochemistry. many content for several units I have taken from uh, this book, Bockris and Reddy. Bockris is from Australian University, Reddy is from IIC Bangalore. And you can also follow other books. For supercapacitors, you can follow that very fascinating book, Electrochemical Supercapacitors. I have e-book, B. Conway's, very fascinating man, B. Conway. And of course, you can also follow this A.J. Bott and Crompton's book on fundamentals of batteries. You are free to use any resources, but when the questions are asked, you will have to provide the proper response. But in the last semester, we found that it's neither match with or the answer matching with our content or general content. You are writing something else. Please don't do. Please don't do like that. Okay. So anything you would like to ask from the syllabus? Why this is not there, that is not there? Any comments on the syllabus? Anything you would like to share? You are free to do so. We'll go ahead. It's an interactive class. I may not be able to take maybe another 5-10 minutes. We'll wind up today's class. We'll continue in the next class. So I'm sure those who entered in this department would have seen this image, definitely. Or attended my orientation class would have seen this image. Isn't it? What this image informs or implies? It's a globe. The name is written satellite image of globe. What do we see? We see land and what? Some lands are very bright. Some lands are dark. Several places in the land are very dark. You believe it or not, this satellite image shows the usage of electricity throughout the land. Throughout the land. You will see that here and there very bright spots. North American, Europe, Japan, some parts of China and India. And of course in South Africa also some parts very bright. North America, South America. But you see that several parts it is still dark. It is still dark. There are different versions of such satellite images in the Google or open literature. So much of electricity is being consumed. With 10% or little excess of 10% is diffusion throughout the globe. Throughout the globe. And you see that Europeans and Americans are forefront in consuming electrical energy. How much is the global energy being consumed? At least 14 trillion watts of energy. At least 14 trillion watts of energy. So this is at least 1 year, 2 years before I have collected this data. In last 1 year, 2 years, this 14 trillion watts of energy would have risen, would have increased at least 15, definitely. Because industries are growing, domestics are growing, cities are expanding, deforestation, land is being converted into residential place and industrial places. Definitely the demand for the energy is always on rise. Not sure the production of the energy is matching. No. In India, more than 50%, more than 10% of the energy deficiency, energy need deficient. Every day, some parts of India or other globally, so it's on dark. It's not dark. $14 trillion watts of energy. So if we translate this 14 trillion watts of energy into the energy that we may have to get from Niagara Falls, we may have to have 3,000 such Niagara Falls. You know, Niagara Falls is the longest or the largest falls. So some of you have experienced it, would have witnessed it, seen it. All of you have heard about it. You know, there is a fascinating things about Niagara Falls. I don't know what is that famous man, very brave man, who travels from this end to that end. I don't know his name, but a very famous brave man. Okay, on a tiny wire, he walks. Once he walks himself alone, then takes cycle or some heavy items, comes back. Then he calls the public who are all brave, hang on my shoulder. I will take you to the next end. Such a brave man. Such many fascinating things are there. So depending on the weather conditions, the water looks blue, red, different colors. So it belongs to Canada. At the edges between Canada and the USA, this Niagara Falls is located. Some of you have seen it, definitely, or maybe seeing in future. Unfortunately, we have only one such Niagara Falls. We need 3,000 Niagara Falls if we want to generate electricity out of that to feed to the energy needs of globe. But energy is being fed to the globe, not necessarily by generating from the Niagara Falls, but by at least 80% through chemical means. 80 to 85% of the current energy demand is met by chemical sources, which includes coal, gasoline, diesel, wood, any carbon, hydrogen containing, at least carbon containing chemicals. How one can get energy from the chemical sources? You have been given some chemical which contains carbon. How will you get energy out of that? By means of chemical combustion, burning of fossil fuels. You combust it with the help of some oxygen. What is the oxygen required in the internal combustion engine? Rough oxygen concentration. What is the oxygen present in the air? Concentration of oxygen present in the air?
21%.
23%.
Yes, 21%, 20.9% of volume percentage of oxygen. The remaining mostly nitrogen and other inert gases, hydrogen, etc. What is the oxygen concentration required in internal combustion engine? It's a 21 volume percentage. Rough number. Or 100% oxygen or no oxygen?
More oxygen. Excess oxygen we have to separate.
No oxygen or more oxygen?
Excess oxygen we have to separate. More oxygen.
Excess of 21 volume percentage or excess of what?
Excess of 21 volume. Excess of air, sir.
Excess of air. So anybody else has a better information? How much concentration of oxygen is required in the internal combustion engine to burn hydrocarbons into decomposed products to get the energy? So you would have heard about lambda sensor, air fuel ratio. air fuel ratio, lean region, rich region, those who are mechanical background, definitely you would have studied all these things. Lambda sensor, air fuel sensor, lean region, rich region. Lean region is oxygen lean region. Rich region is oxygen rich region. Or you can also talk about fuel. It should be 14.1. Air to fuel ratio. Oxygen to fuel ratio should be 14.1. This translates to about 3 to 7 volume percentage of oxygen, not 21 volume percentage of oxygen or 100 percentage of oxygen in the internal combustion engine to make effective burning or combustion. With that itself, the efficiency of the combustion efficiency is very, very limited, less than 60 percentage. In an average, about 40 percentage only combustion efficiency. Fuel to energy combustion efficiency. Maybe with the introduction of Bharat Stage 4 or Euro 6 or Tier 3 in United States, so you can have max of about 60 percentage. Means fast 40 percentage of the carbon is just emitted as a carbon, maybe not necessarily in the form of a carbon, maybe in the form of carbon monoxide or partially decomposed hydrocarbons. We have the toxic emission by burning of fossil fuels. That includes not only partially decomposed hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides, and very recently, last 5-10 years or also, even CO2 is regarded as a GHG, greenhouse gases. If you have too much oxygen in the internal combustion will be uncontrolled. If you have a very low oxygen concentration, what would happen? There won't be no combustion, or the combustion will emit mostly carbon particles. So only optimized oxygen concentration with a defined pressure is maintained in the combustion, and you get at least 40 to 60 percentage of combustion efficiency. Otherwise, the combustion process will be uncontrolled, will lead to danger to the instrument or the vehicle at a high concentration of oxygen. At low concentration of oxygen, you will have only carbon emission, not even CO2 emission, CO emission. You will have carbon emission. Already we have a particulate emission even in this condition. You see that in one hand, the burning of fossil fuels leads to emission of toxic gases which harm the environment. At least 50% of the pollution caused by this means. 45 to 50% of the air pollution and its associated adverse effects on the environment is done by automobile emissions. The rest are the industrial furnaces or industries, agricultural or other activities in one hand. On the other hand, the reserve for such fossil fuels are also getting depleted because they are all finite. All these carbon-based fuels are finite, unlike solar energy, wind energy, bioenergy, or tidal, etc., which are replenishable. These fossil fuels are finite. They have limited resources. Unless we are going to find or invent or locate the new fossil fuel deposits by 2050 or so, is going to be finished. I have been telling this statement for last 10 years. So it means that we are moving towards 2050. 10 years I have moved by telling this. At least 10 years we have moved. We are very near, very much we are nearing each year. It's going to be a severe energy crisis. Is going to be a severe energy crisis by 2050 or so, if we are not going to adopt renewable energy technologies or replenishable energy technologies, or if we are not going to have any other deposits that you have to locate if it is present. In one way, the burning of fossil fuels leads to emission of toxic gases. On the other hand, there is a depletion of such fossil fuels. How will you make remedy for this? Very serious. Both are very serious, equally serious. One aspect, it harms the environment, and in another hand, we are not going to have that forever. We are not going to have it fossil fuels forever. It's going to be finished. You have heard that Americans, they are storing barrels of fuels by digging the mountain and underground, etc. But how much they can store? What is the efficiency they can store? So the possible remedy is to reduce toxic emissions from the automobiles and other industrial furnaces, or to move towards use of alternative or sustainable energy sources. Of course, you will agree with me that if you use hydrogen, it is safe. Burning of hydrogen will provide you energy and water. No CO emission, no CO2 emission. No CO emission, no CO2 emission, no particulate emission, no partially decomposed hydrogen, if no partially decomposed hydrocarbons, if the fuel is hydrogen. You will get water and energy. Maybe if it is burnt in air, since air contains nitrogen, 79% of nitrogen, it might combine with oxygen. You will emit NOx. Otherwise, no CO2 emission, partially decomposed hydrogen if the hydrogen is the fuel. But unfortunately, we do not have resource for nitrogen. Raw hydrogen is not available. But hydrogen in the form of biotic component, water, plenty are available. We will have to make an effort to convert this water into hydrogen, or this biomass into hydrogen, or biomass into hydrogen. Best way is to move towards sustainable means. This is what it happens. So when an internal combustion engine is on, fuel is fed, then suitable condition is provided, enough pressure, enough concentration of oxygen, then there is a spark plug which ignites the combustion. Then combustion takes place. So chemical energy is converted into mechanical energy. Then that mechanical energy can be converted into whatever the required energy you want. Maybe electrical energy. It can light up. Okay. Maybe it can be provided to recharge the battery. So chemical energy basically converted into mechanical energy, then which in turn may be converted into electrical energy. You see that. So in the internal combustion engine, in the tailpipe, before it is emitted into the tailpipe, there are several things happening. Nitrogen is converted into nitrogen oxide, partially decomposed hydrocarbons are emitted, particulate carbons are emitted. If you don't have these three-way catalyst or NOx storage catalysts, our earth would have already gone. Thanks to this three-way catalyst, and very soon we will be having selective catalytic reduction system, which will even decompose toxic nitrogen oxides into environmentally green nitrogen. Soon we will be having. Many test vehicles are there. BS4 or Euro 6, they set the standard for emission of toxic gases from the automobiles. If you look at this Euro norms or even Bharat Stage 4 norms, all these automobile manufacturers says they will go on silent mode. It is very tough to obey those emission norms. But it is mandatory for all these automobile manufacturers to obey this BS4 or Euro 6. Both are nearly equal. BS is Indian standard and Euro 6 is European standard. Emission norms. Very, very low, 0.00 grams per kilometer only carbon has to be emitted. Then your combustion efficiency should be in such a very high. Very high. This is possible, and if you use, in addition to three-way catalyst, selective catalytic reduction system. All automobile manufacturers are mandatory use urea-based selective catalytic reduction system. Selective catalytic reduction system. You would have heard this. This is a commercial name, AdBlue. A German company sells this AdBlue. It is a 33% of urea solution in water. So it is just kept before the tailpipe, within the tailpipe. Okay, just before, within that area. So AdBlue is injected. Okay, so you see that the urea decomposes to ammonia. Ammonia reacts with the NO2, and you get finally green emission or environmentally benign emissions. So such technology is on. There are test vehicles. Volvo is already testing. Many automobile manufacturers, conventional fuel-based automobiles, they will have to use this technology in future in order to satisfy BS4. That's why you would have seen that last 5 years or 2-3 years before it has started, you would have seen that Bharat Stage 4, BS4. It was BS3 2017 till 2017. Now it is currently BS4. And before BS3, it was city-based emission norms. Thanks to BS4 norms, now all the cities are made to obey BS4, Bharat Stage 4. So not only four-wheelers, even higher wheelers, you would have seen in the buses BS4 standard. BS4 standard. Okay. So in order to have this technology very efficiently, we need to loop this NOx emission and urea emissions. Okay, so there are other efforts are going on throughout the globe. Many universities, many institutes are working towards development of these sensors. NO sensor, NO2 sensors, carbon monoxide sensor, hydrocarbon sensor, even ammonia sensors. So, excuse me, how much urea to be injected, that can be quantified, or that is possible to quantify if you know how much NO2 is emitted. So you require NO2 sensor, effective NO2 sensor, NO sensor, then ammonia sensor. So I was fortunate to work on this field for at least 5 to 6 years. Immensely contributed, not immensely, at least something I have contributed. So ammonia sensor that we have developed in Miura's lab during my postdoc is being considered by Mitsubishi Corporation in Japan to implement practically. They have implemented, they are testing still. We have also developed a range of NO2 sensors. So in one way to make remedy, we need to go for DeNOx system or DSOx system in case of sulfur-based fuels, diesel. You know, petrol is free from sulfur, but diesel has some sulfur. If we have a sulfur, we have its consequence. We need to adopt DSOx system, DeNOx system, DCOX system. Or you need to go for alternative energy sources, use of alternative energy sources. They must be sustainable or renewable in nature. I think my time is over. We will stop now. We will continue the class next class. So if anybody would like to make some comments, clarification, add anything, you are welcome to do so. So Alice, please maintain the attendance. Thank you. So last semester we have maintained very well.
Yes, sir.
This year also I request you please maintain the attendance.
Yes, sir.
It is automatic. Nobody can escape. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do.
So if anybody would like to ask anything, comment, any comments, clarification, we have just started. I'm sure you so this course also you may like it.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Okay. Yeah,
Hello,
please.
Sir, when we talk about fuel cell, because of
Yeah,
it is
please.
a green. Yes, sir. Sir, when we talk about fuel cell, because it is a green energy system, the inlet hydrogen should be produced from a green energy, sir. Right, sir. So why electrolysis are take part in this syllabus, sir?
So yeah, it's too early for me to respond. Since you have made this point, let me explain. So of course, the hydrogen should be obtained from the greener way. So at the expense of fuel cell, we should not be polluting the environment by generating the hydrogen from other sources. I agree with that. Okay. So electrolyzer, of course, you need to have a electricity to decompose water into hydrogen. But now you know there are many other options. You need not be only having the grid based electrolysis. You can have a photoelectrolysis. Okay.
Yes, sir. I am asking why these electrolysis are take part in this syllabus, sir.
Where?
So our syllabus chemical conversion and storage.
This
Or in
electrochemical
green energy
conversion is
department.
a general term. Electrochemical.
Yes,
So then you want to avoid all battery, supercapacitor, fuel cells. You can
sir,
remove. You recommend to the board of studies of our department. Welcome, I will be free.
yes, sir. I am asking that only, sir. Why it is not take part in syllabus? That one. Syllabus
Only.
are also in department, sir.
So you want to include the electrolyte portion in the syllabus?
Yes, sir. As it is it also a green energy system, so it should be take part in green energy, sir.
Unfortunately, you didn't have that practical. You have the electrolysis practicals in the last semester, but unfortunately, we could not provide that. We have electrolyzer, which will convert the hydrogen into hydrogen, water into hydrogen. Both electrolytic decomposition and solar-based decomposition, we have that practical.
Yes, okay.
It is there, part of that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anything else? Anything else?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So when we study about fuel cells, that is hydrogen oxygen fuel cell or PMFC, the reverse is electrolysis. The reverse is electrolysis. Same configuration. Fuel cell will generate potentials, use the potentials to decompose hydrogen. That is electrolysis. We have some content on that, I think, in the last unit. Anything
Yes,
else?
okay.
Anything else? If not, thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Recording, sir. Recording.